Welcome back to the Repro Review Show. My name is Doug, and today we're going to be talking about Fix-It Felix Jr. on the Sega Genesis. This is a port of the fictional arcade game from the 2012 movie Wreck-It Ralph. 2012. Wreck-It Ralph was 6 years ago? Wreck-It Ralph is an animated film by Disney that takes place in a world where all video game characters in an arcade are alive and can coexist with one another between gaming sessions. Kinda like Toy Story, but digital. Ralph is the enemy character of an arcade game called Fix-It Felix Jr. And Ralph doesn't like to be the bad guy and yada yada yada. It's a fun movie, you should check it out. Disney was clever in their marketing for the film and released a small number of actual arcade cabinets of Fix-It Felix Jr. However, the majority of people have likely played it as a mobile game or a flash game on their computer. If Disney had any sense, they would have made it a console game. Just saying. The online game doesn't seem to work anymore, and the app is no longer available as far as I can tell. But hey, if you want a bunch of crappy Wreck-It Ralph games, here you go. Where Disney falters, fans pick up the slack. A fan of the game decided to build it from the ground up, making this the first homebrew game I'm covering on this show. So now with the ROM of this version available, you can find Fix-It Felix Jr. on reproduction cartridges for the Sega Genesis. Fix-It Felix Jr. is a completely fictional arcade game, but is cleverly designed that it fits right in with the retro arcade hits of the early 80s, pulling inspiration from Duck Hunt, Frogger, Rampage, and most of all, Donkey Kong. Truthfully, this game underutilizes the capabilities of the Sega Genesis. It really could have been put on the Master System and looks just as good, but that's just true to the design of the game. I guess they made it for the Genesis because if you're into retro gaming, chances are you have a Genesis, but it's not as likely you have a Master System, so I get it. This version very faithfully reproduces the look of the arcade version. It's not 100%, but it's as faithful a port as you could hope for. Like most classic arcade games, Fix-It Felix Jr. is very simple to play in theory, but very difficult in practice. Mostly you just press up, down, left, and right to control your direction, and press any of the main buttons to use your hammer to fix windows. That's how you fix windows after all, hit them with a hammer. It starts out nice and simple, but it doesn't take long before you're faced with obstacles. Ralph knocks down loose bricks that will kill you if they hit you. There are open shutters which restrict your movement horizontally, and flower pots which will restrict you vertically. Then, crazy ducks with Herculean strength come at you and can hit you with the same force as falling bricks. This is all compounded with a time limit, which won't faze you at first, but may catch up to you as more obstacles force you to take a more methodical approach. Fortunately, it isn't all just death and destruction. The Nicelander people do bring out a pie once in a while, and it must be full of spinach and starmen because it makes you faster and invincible. Just don't take too many risks trying to get the pies because your hit detection is far from forgiving. If you get so much as brushed by a brick, or heaven forbid, a duck, you're finished. I actually can't imagine playing this on a tablet or a phone. A game like this deserves the authentic arcade experience, to be fully immersed in the illusion. Obviously the arcade cabinet would be the most ideal, but the responsiveness of the Genesis controller is the next best thing. The pro of Fix-It Felix Jr. is also a con. It really depends on what you're looking for in the moment. Truth is that you can only get so much mileage out of it. It gets repetitive and very difficult very quickly, and personally, I feel done with the game after just a few rounds. But it's also great to come back to from time to time to give it a few more tries, to see if you can just get a bit further than the last time. And if you don't have a lot of time to play a game and you want something fast to play through for about 10 minutes or so, Fix-It Felix Jr. fits the bill. Of course, if you're the kind of person who is able to endure through Pac-Man or Donkey Kong and play those over and over again until you get really good at them, then Fix-It Felix Jr. is going to be right up your alley. There is a certain appeal to the novelty of having a fictional arcade game from 2012 fully playable on a game console made in the late 80s. But that being said, I really feel that Fix-It Felix Jr. holds its own as a game. Even if you haven't seen or even heard of Wreck-It Ralph, there's nothing standing in the way of you understanding and enjoying Fix-It Felix Jr. There are no glitches I could find, but I did find a detail to nitpick. Getting the pie power-up is pretty difficult at times, and I think a small sound indicating that it's entered the screen would be super helpful. Sometimes the surroundings are too busy and overwhelming, so pies can come and go before you can even process that they're there. And really, we could use all the help we can get. So my next nitpick isn't even actually about the game itself, but rather this is just more of a cautionary tale if you want to get a reproduction cartridge yourself. I got mine over eBay and it was from like Hong Kong or China or somewhere, and is actually not a very good quality cartridge. It actually doesn't even comfortably fit my Genesis. It's just like a little bit too big. Like it can fit, but it's uncomfortably tight and you have to really push it to get it in there. It's a good thing I captured my footage a while ago because my latest attempt to play the game actually didn't work, so I didn't have it for very long before it went kaput. So even though it might cost more, it actually is more worth your while probably to find a good quality reproduction cartridge. Fix-It Felix Jr. on the Sega Genesis is as faithful a port of the game as you'll ever get. It really captures the authentic arcade experience on a home console and should satisfy vintage gaming fans looking for something new and Disney fans who are looking for fun novelties for their collection. It's a gaming experience with limitations, but it plays really well within those limitations. So in the end, I have to give Fix-It Felix Jr. on the Sega Genesis 3.5 out of 5 man-eating ducks. That's a game worth playing. We'll see you next time on the Repro Review Show. Thanks for watching.